Chapter 12. Different Paths, Same Destination. Having already won his match for the day, Mo Gun had decided to make his way to the part of the stadium where Han Xin would be competing, hoping to be in time to catch the other man's fight. Thankfully, the distance between their two arenas wasn't far, and he arrived to see both Han Xin and Chang Ren sitting on the mats placed around the roped-off arenas. Spotting Mo Gun's arrival, Han Xin waved him over, and then shifted over to make room for him.
So, how long did you take?
Asked Han Xin, confident in Mo Gun's victory.
I won on the 8th move.
Answered Mo Gun matter-of-factly.
That's 2 moves fewer than I had expected,
said Chang Ren, mirroring Mo Gun's straightforward manner of speech. It had been 3 days since Mo Gun had first met the two of them, and in that time they had settled into a familiar routine, where they would meet up after winning their respective matches and then go off to have whatever meal was closest at the time. Mo Gun's initial impression of his companions' relationship with each other had been correct, for they were indeed close friends. In fact, they were childhood friends from families who had been friends for the last 3 generations. All of this he had learnt during his first meal with the pair, as Han Xin had proven to be a most sociable companion who spoke freely and extensively. Thankfully, his near-overbearing openness was balanced out by the taciturn of Chang Ren, who spoke 1 word for every 10 of Han Xin's. By the second day, courtesy of Han Xin's talkativeness, Mo Gun had learned that the two families had first become entwined during the campaign against the Crimson Scourge, an infamous pirate fleet that had plagued the Empire's eastern coast for decades. Hailing from the same local coastal village, both Han Xin's and Chang Ren's respective grandfathers had been conscripted to serve in the militia. During this time, Han Xin's grandfather had distinguished himself in the eyes of their commanding officer, eventually earning himself a position on the man's staff. When the campaign was finally brought to a successful conclusion, Han Xin's grandfather had decided to stay in the employ of his patron and invited Chang Ren's grandfather, to whom he had formed a close comradeship with, to join him, nominally as his retainer, but in reality as a brother in arms. Eventually their patron passed away, and having no close kin, he had bequeathed everything, including his family name, to Han Xin's grandfather. Yet despite his elevated position, Han Xin's grandfather had continued to treat Chang Ren's grandfather as an equal, a relationship that had continued into the current generation, with their respective grandsons treating each other like brothers. Finally, Han Xin's name was called, and the young man rose to his feet before stepping gracefully into the arena. The man facing him was a burly fellow, whose massive hands clutched at a pair of short maces tied together with a heavy chain at the base. Han Xin, however, had no obvious weapon as he stood there facing the man with a confident, almost condescending smile.
"Begin!"
announced the referee, and Han Xin's hand shot out. The sound of ricocheting metal rang out as something struck the mace-wielding man in the head, snapping his neck back and toppling him like a felled oak tree.
"Winner, Jiang Han Xin of the Jiang family,"
declared the Void Monk. Saluting the referee and his fallen opponent, who was just waking up from his magically induced paralysis, Han Xin walked across the arena to retrieve his projectile, before stepping over the ropes and heading towards his companions. As he arrived, Mo Gun began getting to his feet, but was waved back down by Han Xin.
Not yet,
said the young nobleman with a smile. Chang Ren's name was called, and Mogun lifted an eyebrow in pleasant surprise. It seemed like today he was going to get the chance to witness both of his new friends in action. As Chang Ren started walking up to the arena, Mogun turned to the now seated Han Xin.
May I take a look at the dart you used?
Han Xin happily handed the missile over, and Mogun began studying it with great interest. Appearing at first glance to be made of gold, the dart was about the size of Mogun's index finger and was expertly made to resemble a large flower petal. However, from handling it, he could tell that it was not in fact made from the noblest of metals, but was instead likely to have been made from some mysterious alloy that mimicked the appearance of gold, yet had the strength and weight of tempered steel. Handing the projectile back to Han Xin, the two of them turned their attention to the arena where Chang Ren was about to begin his fight. Unlike Han Xin, who had held himself with the subtle flexibility of a tall bamboo tree in the breeze, Chang Ren stood like a large rock on the beach, solid, stoic, and ready to weather anything that came his way. Dressed in his usual dark, practical manner, and holding a 4-foot-long glaive, half of which consisted of a single-edged, broad, flat blade, Chang Ren cut an imposing figure.
Begin!
Declared the referee, and Chang Ren's opponent started staggering backwards, with the spear in his hands visibly shaking. Opening his mage sight, Mogun immediately identified the cause of the man's odd behavior as his enchanted vision perceived a wave of dark, choking smoke billowing out from Chang Ren's body and slithering its way across the arena to engulf his opponent like a snake devouring its prey. Somehow Chang Ren had weaponized his fighting spirit and was using it to launch a psychological attack on his opponent, stripping away his will to fight and filling him with terror. Chang Ren charged forward, his powerful legs covering the distance from his opponent in a heartbeat, and lancing out with his weapon, he struck the man in the chest. Luckily, the magic of the tournament's token held, sparing the man from an otherwise fatal injury, but not from the momentum of the blow, which sent him flying backwards to land in a paralyzed heap at the edge of the arena.
Stop! Winner, Chang Ren of the Jade Sea Guards,
declared the referee, naming Chang Ren and the army unit he was representing. After saluting the referee and his fallen opponent, Chang Ren went back to his companions, and together the three of them went to have their daily meal together.